Welcome to All-in-One Storage by Accusys and Data Management by Archiware P5. With me is Blake Jones from Vision2C.
Hi, Mark.
And my name is Mark Batschkus from Archiware here in Munich, Germany. So there's a little intro to the GoToWebinar interface in case you haven't used it before. There's a chat window where you can add questions and send them to us so that we can answer them later. Now let's just jump in and hear about the Accusys ExaSAN LTO.
So what we have here is a fast RAID production storage combined with a long-term LTO storage. And this gives us the best of both worlds connected by one single QSFP cable.
And there's a very special licensing combination that you can get in a promotion for free until July 31st, which is the P5 Desktop LTO edition. More on that later. This is just a hint that it will be coming up.
Okay, so here we have the features for the ExaSAN LTO. An integrated LTO drive, 11-bay RAID storage, high performance, and it's connected via a single QSFP cable, and it's also configurable via the RaidGuard X software that is included with the system. And you can also attach it to a Thunderbolt 3 device using the Accusys C2M converter. Now, as you can see, we have the Archiware P5 working together with the PCIe or Thunderbolt C2M converter connected storage. Perfect for your backup and archival. We have access via Final Cut Pro X, Resolve Studio, Adobe Premiere, or even with the Blackmagic Cintel film scanner. And it's a workflow that's optimized and perfect for 4K.
So with all this valuable data that you create, you need some protection. And how do you protect production? Well, there's a very simple rule for that. There's a 3-2-1 rule. How does that work? Well, 3 copies of each file is what you need to be on the safe side. 2 different media would be ideal. And in this unit, we have disk and tape, and just in one device. And 1 copy stored offsite for maximum protection and security. Let's take a step back and look at the difference between backup and archive, because that's of importance here. Backup is a duplication of data used for daily production, where archive is a migration of finished productions. Backup is usually an automatic operation, schedule-driven, where archive is most of the time a manual operation or it's watch folder driven. Backup is a cyclic process that overrides itself after a specified retention time is reached, where archive is a forever growing dataset. Backup has a short to mid-term storage perspective, where archive definitely has a long-term storage perspective. And why do you archive at all? Well, archive has a certain purpose, and actually more than one. First, it frees up space on the production storage. So like here with the ExaSAN LTO, you have the RAID system that will fill up faster than you might think. And you want to move data that has been finalized to the archive, and in this case to LTO, to save space on the production storage. You want to preserve media and productions for the long term. You want to catalog and make actually findable the media. You want to enrich it with metadata. Metadata is very important because it will be the key for the archive later on. If nobody remembers names of files or the productions themselves, you still can search for metadata and find specific media. And this enables reuse, reference, and monetization of media, especially for returning customers who come back and want to build on a production that you did for them a year, 2 years, 5 years ago. That's a very strong point if you can find their files easily. And there's one specific special case for an archive, which is called the ingest archive. And this happens today when people capture with 6K, 8K resolutions that is not enough disk space available to keep all the files that they ingest. So after ingest, you archive directly to LTO tape. You edit the whole production with proxies, and then do the conform of only the used high-res files from the LTO archive. And Archiware P5 can help you with that, because Archiware P5, the suite, has the coverage for the ABC of data management, A for archive, B for backup, and C for cloning or replication, all in one solution. The whole suite has setup assistance to make it extremely easy to get up and running within a couple of minutes. It is operating system and storage agnostic, which means it runs on the Mac, it runs on Windows, it runs on Linux, and it runs on NAS boxes like QNAP, Synology, and Netgear. It covers archive, backup, and cloning in one solution. It helps to use disk, tape, and cloud storage to be very flexible about your storage strategy. And there's a 30-day free evaluation license that you can use in your own setup to see what you get from P5. So let's have a closer look at the suite and its products. P5 Archive, P5 Backup, P5 Backup to Go, and P5 Synchronize are the 4 products that are included in the Archiware P5 suite. In today's webinar, we are concentrating more on P5 Archive and P5 Backup because those are the 2 modules that work with LTO tape. So let's have a look at P5 Archive. P5 Archive has a setup assistant which helps you to auto-detect the LTO tape drive or even the tape library. It helps you to migrate to disk, tape, and cloud storage. In the case of the ExaSAN LTO, of course, mostly to tape storage. It establishes an air gap and offsite storage with the files that you're using, because there's a physical gap between an LTO tape and the network and the server. And offsite storage becomes extremely easy when you move those tapes out of the office. You can browse and search the catalog. It's very important to be able to visually browse the catalog, and for that, P5 Archive offers previews and proxies. You're going to see that in the screenshot. And there is customizable metadata fields and menus that you configure to create an individual metadata schema. This is of extreme importance for a long-term archive when people leave the company, when things are forgotten, how they have been named, and all those cases where you want to go back to specific media assets but don't have enough clues to find them. You can use the metadata, descriptions, technical descriptions, or descriptions of the contents to find those files in the archive catalog. Also, the archive catalog offers versions, file versions of each file. Very important is that P5 Archive uses a platform-neutral format to store data, which means you're completely independent of the operating system for the storage server. So you can use a Windows server, for instance, to archive Mac files. So the Windows operating system has no idea about ExaSAN attributes, X attributes, Finder attributes, and so on. They will be preserved and handed back exactly as they have been archived. So this is an interface screen from P5 Archive, the restore view. You see in the top the restore button has been pressed. On the left-hand side, you see the file list. It's the archive date, modification date, and size of the files. In the middle, you see the media previews. And on the right-hand side, you see a section with an enlarged single asset with the associated metadata. And this metadata schema here can be customized and should be customized because each production is different, and there should be the metadata available that make most sense for your specific environment and for your production. There's an additional add-on option called the P5 Companion. This allows to drag and drop files onto an archive window to get them archived. So this is the easiest way to archive and restore files on a workstation with drag and drop using P5 Companion together with P5 Archive. To archive to tape, you have to make a decision what kind of tape generation would be the best for you. We created this infographic here to show you the different advantages of different generations. So right now, the generations mostly used are LTO6, LTO7, and LTO8. See, they have different capacity points, like LTO6 2.5 terabyte, LTO7 6 terabyte, LTO8 12 terabyte native, different speeds, and of course different resulting density. To summarize, LTO has a long and proven track record of its shelf life of 30 years, even more in some cases. So IBM labs have been testing and working on tapes since the 50s, and they still can read very old tapes. Security is provided built in through several layers, but also through cloned media that P5 can create, and offsite storage when you move tapes offsite. There's also an air gap and offline feature built into tape, basically, so that there's a physical gap between the tape and the network or the server, so nothing can happen to any tape which is not in the drive. And even if it is in the drive, then there have been no malware attacks known so far to any tape drive. The price per terabyte is quite unique, starting at 10 euros per terabyte, or 10 US dollar roughly. So scaling with tape is extremely easy and extremely cost effective. There's an investment at the beginning, but then scaling is so cheap that it is unrivaled by any other storage technology. The performance of up to 360 megabytes throughput, read-write throughput per drive, is also quite impressive. And you can even scale it up if you have a tape library with multiple drives. Important is also that it's a different technology than the production storage, which usually is a RAID system, so that any malware, any errors, any bugs or whatever endangers the files on the storage cannot go from one technology to the other. And there are multiple vendors in worldwide use in large corporations. So usually your bank, your insurance company, and large international corporations all use LTO tape in their basements for their very, very large data sets. And below you see the blog link to this infographic, including an article about decision making for LTO tape. Now let's have a look at P5 Backup. P5 Backup also has setup assistance to make it extremely easy to set it up and get it running. It backs up also to disk tape and cloud, of course, in this scenario, mostly to LTO tape. Also offers air gap and offsite storage, extremely easy. You can browse and search the backup index to find files that you want to restore. It offers snapshots and file versions of each file that has been saved multiple times, and also has a platform neutral format to make it independent of the operating system of the storage server. Now, Archiware offers a multitude of resources to help you and support your decision and find the best solution for you. For instance, we have a solution page with Accusys. There's a product and pricing configurator, so you can configure any license combination online on our webpage and see the end user pricing. There's a full-length video training for each product, and a 30-day full-featured evaluation license that you can use anytime in your own setup. And with this, I hand over again to Blake.
So here we have the Accusys ExaSAN LTO along with the Archiware P5 package. This provides an all-in-one RAID storage and LTO tape and a backup and archive solution. Now we're going to have a look at an actual case scenario of how we actually set the system up. So now we're going to see the setup with P5. This is so simple. All you have to do is you come up to the LTO drive, Place your cartridge inside the system. It's recognized automatically, and then we just go directly to the P5 interface, look for our drive. It automatically sees it. We just click on that, and we just select it. And then finally, we just click on complete. And now we're all set. And then the next thing we have to do is just look for the data that we want to archive. Now I'm going to have a look here with an actual case using Final Cut Pro X. As you can see, the Accusys storage plays perfectly with Final Cut. We can even go through and look at various clips in our ingest page here. And I can just go through, select it, play it, no problems. And as you can see, some of these clips will be in maybe SD, HD, 4K, even 8K, no problem. Okay, so now we're going to move on to using the Accusys storage together with DaVinci Resolve Studio. So first thing we're going to do is we have a look here at the media page. And then we can just hop over to the edit page and look at our edit here, and we can work with the material directly off the storage and do whatever we need to, and then afterwards jump over to the color page, do our color corrections, and do any other work that we need to on the color page for this. So simple and so fast.
Okay, so that was a little live demonstration to show how the Accusys ExaSAN LTO storage actually works and can be used. And now we come back to the special promotion of the P5 Desktop LTO edition. So until July 31st, you can register to get a free full license, and that's a perpetual license with 3 months of software maintenance included, which usually costs 1,200 euros list price. And this works ideally with the ExaSAN LTO because it includes P5 backup and P5 archive or a single LTO drive, so exactly the configuration that you have with this device. And with that, we can turn to the questions and answers that you might have been sending us. Let's have a look at the question panel. You can type in questions here. What I see here is what operating system is P5 running on? So we showed it here on a Mac, but as I mentioned briefly, it's operating system agnostic, which means it runs on Mac, on Windows, on Linux, and it runs on Synology, QNAP, and Netgear devices, where P5 is available in their specific app centers.
So our next question is, can you share the ExaSAN LTO with multiple computers? And the answer is yes, of course. All you need to do is to add an SWF16 switch, and also you would need a SAN file system such as ExaSAN or TigerStore to allow you to operate in a SAN environment. Okay, our next question is, do you need a SAN file system when operating in a shared storage environment? And the answer is yes. You would need something like ExaSAN or, as I mentioned before, also TigerStore in order to do this.
Okay, then one question about P5. What other modules are there that can be used with this device? What comes to mind is P5 Synchronize, of course, for cloning and replication disk to disk. So if you have either more shared storage or you have a big SAN system or very time-critical storage that needs to be constantly available, then you can use P5 Synchronize to clone that. And there is A question here, if there's a Thunderbolt 3 and network connection parallel possible?
This would get us into the realm of multiple computers accessing the same storage, so you would probably need a switch for this environment. So in principle, yes, you could do that.
So you can connect via Thunderbolt to a PC or to a Mac. And from there, of course, over the network also do any kind of backup or archive server. So it doesn't have to be necessarily the same workstation that you're working on. We will send out to the participants the presentation as a PDF, and it includes the links, of course, to the documents. And if it works, there will be a recording that will be available. And there's one more question here about the pricing of the ExaSAN LTO. Where's that start?
Prices start at 8,500 euros using 11 enterprise 4 terabyte hard disk drives.
And you can configure that, of course, to meet your specific requirements and have a bigger and high performance system. Okay, and with that, we can actually, there are no more questions here. Thank you for participating, and you will get mail from us, including a PDF of the presentation and some links to the documents that we mentioned. And thank you for being here, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye, thank you.